like to call to order the meeting of the Portsmouth Port and Industrial Commission for Tuesday, September 27th, 2022. Roll call vote, please. Roll call, please.
Good morning and thank you, Chair. Ms. Bethay. Ms. McSwain.
Present.
Mr. Parr.
Present.
Ms. Rogers-Garner.
Present.
Mr. Williams.
Present.
Ms. Jackson.
Present.
And Ms. Allen.
Present.
Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, the liaison is here.
I was going to acknowledge, of course, our councilman, Mr. Moody, our city manager, Ms. Chapman.
Good morning.
And, of course, our city attorney. Good morning.
Good morning.
Ms.
Good
Williams.
morning.
Before you have the minutes from the August 23rd, 2022 regular meeting for your review. If there are no corrections needed, need a motion for approval in a second.
Move for approval of the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. McSwain.
Yes.
Mr. Parr.
Yes.
Ms. Rogers-Garner.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
And Ms. Allen.
Yes.
The motion is approved by a vote of 6-0.
Thank you. Before us, we have our financial report for July and August 2022.
Madam Chair, we have Ms. Pope from the Finance Department with us this morning. She will be presenting the financial reports.
Good morning. I was
Good morning.
looking for the usual ladies, and I was like, good morning and
I'm
welcome.
in here of her absence. Thank you. Good morning. Ready? Okay. Yes. Okay, so at the end of August 31st, 2022, we had around $1,500,000 in the bank. We still have those two properties on Burton's Point coming in at $332,000. We had a small net increase of $640 overall. So far, we paid out around $4,000 in expenses, most of that regarding business development and a few contractual service expenses. So far, we've earned $640 worth of interest on that $1 million in our Bank of America account. That's it. Any questions? Just a little bit of activity.
What are the accounts receivable, the $2 million in the year-to-date, are those grants?
Yes, those are grants, and if you see, we also have that as in a liability, so they kind of cancel out. So once we get that money, we
Gotcha.
have to pay it right out, so I didn't mention. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I will just, that's a great question, Commissioner Parr. I will share with you, we are in the process of processing payouts for a few of those grants. They're primarily the Port Host community grants that have been awarded, I believe in FY20 and 21, so we're very close to dispersing those funds. So that you'll see that decreasing here over the next few months.
That was for July or for August?
That was for August.
Okay. Any further questions? Hearing none. Thank you, Ms. Pope.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Old business, Port of Virginia update. Good morning, Chris.
Hey, good morning. Thank you so much. It's good to see everyone this morning. Councilman Moody, Administrator Chapman, wonderful to see you both. And thank you for the PPIC Commission for this opportunity to come before you. Give you a brief board update. I kind of feel like a broken record because, again, we've had another record month for the month of August at the Port of Virginia. That makes over 18, I think, consecutive months where we've seen volumes really exceeding the year's past volume for that month. So it's exciting that even in spite of maybe headlines and as we deal with changes in the economy, we still see significant cargo volumes coming through the Port of Virginia. And I think that's a testament ultimately to really serving the industry based on a lot of the investments we've made within our terminals, in particular here in Portsmouth at Virginia International Gateway, seeing the investment that the improvements that happened over there and the adding of capacity being utilized at such a high level and an effective level, again, is a testament. And our customers have really recognized that. And so even through, I think, changes that will happen naturally through the economy, we have done a great job of capturing market share. And that's, I think, really something we're really excited about, because with that market share really comes the opportunities. And those are the companies and the developers looking to invest in our communities, and that's still the market we find ourselves. You know, there's a lot of interest out there throughout the region and even in the city of parties looking to see how do they, you know, invest to maybe build industrial warehousing space, cross-dock space that can really activate and enable efficiency and velocity in the supply chain, because that is one of the obvious deficiencies that was brought to light during COVID. And again, Virginia continues to shine. So just to give you the numbers, for August, we did 341,000 TEUs. And for calendar year 22, so we're getting there to the end of this calendar year, we're up again still 10% over calendar year 21. And so seeing this double-digit growth in a business that we typically will grow at a 2 to 3% year over year, and that's good. I mean, that's healthy for a port. And so now that, you know, here we look at it back and have seen multiple years of double-digit growth, we couldn't accommodate and still be a fluid and active port if we hadn't made those investments. And so it's exciting times, and it's exciting to see what's being derived for that outside the gate investment here in our communities. And then I'll touch on PMT, Portsmouth Marine Terminal. Obviously, that is really going to be a premier offshore wind port, staging and loading, and also manufacturing. Actually, today and tomorrow there's a conference here in Hampton Roads. It's over, happens to be in Norfolk this time, but it's a national, globally recognized offshore wind networking group called the Business Network for Offshore Wind. They're having a ports and vessel conference right here at the Sheraton on the other side of the river, and I know Brian and some staff will be over there here after this meeting, meeting with folks from throughout the world. I mean, I actually had a meeting or two yesterday, and we're talking about people from Antwerp and people from London and Sussex and all over the world are coming here to our community to talk about offshore wind. And so it's exciting that we have that here in Portsmouth. That project is underway. Skanska, again, was the awarded, they were the prevailing low bid and awarded the improvements for Dominion Energy's footprint there at PMT, and that construction is underway. They're beginning the test piles to begin shoring up our berth so that we can handle these large components. So it's very exciting. A lot more to come. There's continued engagement from city staff, which is greatly appreciated because we are a partner in this effort in positioning PMT to really be a job creator for the citizens of Portsmouth. And so with that, I'll leave it, and happy to answer any questions from the commission or anyone else in the audience.
Any questions for Mr. Gullickson?
What's the name of the conference that's...
This is called the Ports and Vessel Conference. Very relevant. Ports, obviously, is something we are obviously recognized as a premier for wind. There's really not another harbor or another PMT. I mean, I can tell you that had a conversation with some parties yesterday standing there at PMT and to see the sort of awe in their eyes because they were coming from the Northeast and they've looked at some of those other facilities that just don't have the sheer scale that we were so fortunate to have here in Portsmouth.
Councilman Moody?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is the double-digit growth, is that resulting in more jobs?
By all means. I mean, we are seeing as we track through the BLS, the Business Labor Statistics, through the federal government, you can see where in transportation and warehousing, in that sort of job classification code, it's been one of the quickest to recover coming out of COVID. And subsequently, you've also seen that wage rate begin to also shift and reflect the job growth and then the job opportunities. You drill down into like Portsmouth, because that's what we're looking at here.
Absolutely.
And you can actually see the average weekly wage is on par with, you know, folks like in manufacturing and professional and those type of fields, because warehousing and transportation has gained in prominence and importance to the overall livelihood of us, you know, users and those citizens. So we have seen that growth, and in particular right here in Portsmouth, it's been one of the quickest segments to actually recover. And then if you look out to 2030, they don't give I haven't been able to find like a Portsmouth, but we look at the region and the industries because they do a little bit higher level. Again, that's a trade, warehousing, transportation, that has some of the most significant double-digit growth for the next 8 years looking forward. So, Councilman Moody, to your point, we're seeing the recovery, we're seeing the new jobs, and we forecast that there'll continue to be strong, healthy growth in that industry segment.
Great.
Ms. Jackson?
I'm just wondering what type of role you guys do play. do play in the commission. Are you, doing any type of presentations or
For the PPIC?
for everyone who's coming?
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So ultimately, it's really a collaborative effort through economic development, through the city manager's office. We have a lot of responsibility as a business here in the city of Portsmouth, one that we hold highly in regard. And so we are very fortunate that just from direct employment, we have over 250 colleagues at the Port of Virginia that live right here in the city of Portsmouth. And those are good jobs across the board, from entry level to senior level positions within our organization. We have colleagues right here in the city. We also obviously work to bring, and in my space, it's really trying to find those opportunities of companies and industry that wants to develop outside our gates. And so making sure that, one, we're not only originating and partnering with economic development to facilitate and land those opportunities, but then also working with staff to make sure they are in step or in line with what, the zoning or the comp plan or whatever, requirements that exist. We want to be a partner and ally to make sure that it's a seamless, smooth process, because, a lot of these folks, existing industry or new industry, they're trying to remove risk out of the equation on some of those investment decisions. So if a new facility or a new piece of equipment, and I think it's our part, with a lot of the bench strength or knowledge we have within our organization and the partnerships that we have here at the city, that it's important that we are an ambassador, a partner in making that as smooth and obviously to give the best and greatest benefit to the city and the citizens that, here in the community.
So you're using it as a platform to open up for more jobs?
Correct, yeah.
Be transparent in that process?
Sure, 100%. We really take that to heart. Port of Virginia is one of the Commonwealth's finest assets. It should also be one of the finest job creators. And so we've really demonstrated 1 in 10 jobs here in Virginia are tied back to the Port of Virginia and the activity coming over the docks.
Ms. Crum?
Salen, I wanted to add to Chris's answer to Councilman Moody, the way we track it for specifically Portsmouth, given that there aren't any specific indicators, is through our median household income and our per capita income. And we should see those increases as those job opportunities, those higher wages are brought in. And we do track that in economic development through our workforce initiative. So that's where you would see those spikes in income levels for our residents.
Terrific. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for your presentation this morning.
Ms. Sherwin-Allen?
Moving on to the PPIC incentive program. Mr. Donahue?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We have a need to finalize and move forward with the launch of your new incentive grant program, which is the Job Creation Grant. There was a copy of this in your meeting package that went out on Friday. These are the guidelines that we have worked together to create for the program to incentivize job creation for industrial businesses. And really, when I say industrial businesses, the board has determined that there are 4 focus areas that we are looking at incentivizing. That includes your maritime, distribution logistics, offshore wind, and advanced manufacturing. This is the application as it has been prepared. I'd like to thank Ms. Tracy from our staff for her work to put this together. We have the ability to launch this as of October 1. We are asking for the board's just formal approval today in order to do so. I do have just a quick recap on the program guidelines and parameters that we can run through. If you have any questions, can certainly answer those and discuss it further if needed. But we did want to obtain a formal vote this morning.
Prior to the vote, if you just give it a rundown for anybody in the community that may be seeing this for the first time and
Absolutely.
hearing
Ms.
about
Prince.
this for the first time.
Great, okay, so you have that on the monitor before you. Again, the objective of this grant program is designed to provide new and expanding existing Portsmouth-based businesses in the industrial and port-related industry sectors with financial assistance for the creation of new positions that provide living wages. The eligible businesses are industrial in nature, and again, we've broken out those four sectors that are targeted: maritime, distribution, logistics, offshore wind, and advanced manufacturing. There is a threshold requirement for a minimum qualified capital investment of at least $5 million that the business would need to be making. Local, state, federal government, or nonprofit organizations are not able to apply for the program, and all businesses, of course, need to be current with City of Portsmouth taxes and fees. The grant parameters are that we allow for a maximum grant award of up to $80,000. Firms can obtain funding for up to 100 newly created positions in the grant year. And there is a calculation for how we arrive at that. These are for full-time positions, of course. We do allow for up to $500 per eligible position for those positions earning at least 175% of the Virginia minimum wage, and these positions also have to offer health benefits as well. We will go up to $800 per position for positions earning 200% of the Virginia minimum wage, again, including those that offer health benefits. The firm can receive a grant for up to 100 newly created positions in the grant year. And then the last bullet point is just a reminder that the Virginia minimum wage is currently $11 an hour, but there is a escalation plan for that to increase annually, eventually arriving at $15 an hour in 2026. And this is the final slide for the program, and it's really just an outline of the steps in the process that an applicant would need to adhere to. Of course, the first is submitting a completed grant application to the Economic Development Office. Upon our review and verification that it's complete, we would bring that to the PPIC board for review and consideration for approval. After which, if that approval is given, the applicant would enter into a grant agreement with the PPIC, and then that would go into effect no later than 90 days after the agreement was issued. And then finally, the grant funds would be dispersed following the documentation of the job creation over the course of a grant year, which is a 12-month period following approval. So those are the guidelines and parameters. In summary, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have or open it for further discussion.
First, I'd like to thank the team that was instrumental in putting this together. It's great to see something go from its infancy stage to fruition. So I appreciate the members of the committee which participated in getting this done. Any questions? Barring none, I need a motion for approval and a second.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Chair. Mrs. McSwain?
Yes.
Mr. Parr?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers-Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
And Ms. Allen?
Yes.
The motion is adopted by a vote of 6-0.
Okay, next up, the FY23 Port Host Community Revitalization Fund Grant. Mr. Donahue.
Yes, this is really just an update on the status of the Port Host grant application, which was approved by the board at your August 23rd meeting. I'm pleased to share that the City Council also authorized the submission of the application at their September 13th meeting. So staff is in the process of uploading and submitting that to the state as we speak, which will be completed by the end of the week. The typical response period is usually 90 to 120 days from submission. We will hear back from the state on an award status. So just to give you an idea of the timeline for that. Again, this application is for Crofton Construction Services. They're located at 16 Harper Avenue. That is in the PMT vicinity that Mr. Gullickson was discussing some activity about earlier. They are proposing to replace a large stretch of the waterfront bulkhead to allow for port-related commerce and trade, shipping activities, and construction-related activities to happen at that location. So just wanted to provide that update for you, and we will certainly keep you posted as we work through the state's review process as well.
Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none. The VMA International Trade Symposium. Mr. Donahue?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. In addition to the offshore wind conference that's happening across the river in Norfolk this week, there is also a Virginia Maritime Association International Trade Symposium that is taking place. That is Wednesday and Thursday, and I believe extends into Friday. And as you may be aware from your prior meetings, you all have agreed to sponsor an event, which is the Maritime Mixer that will be taking place. We have registered each of you for that event. I do believe you received an email with the details of that, but just to recap.
I sent out an email, but it does not appear that it went out.
Okay. I sent one out as well.
Okay. Thank you.
So you have all been registered. That is occurring Wednesday, September 28th from 4:30 to 7 p.m. At the Half Moon Cruise and Celebration Center at 1 Waterside Drive in Norfolk. We do have tickets for all of the commissioners, and you have been registered. If you need any further details regarding attendance or the location and venue, please reach out to our office and we can ensure that you have that information.
Any further questions? Starbase Victory. Commissioner Parr.
Unfortunately, there's been a leadership change at Starbase, not only for the Starbase organization, but for the science director. And they requested that we take this conversation back up in Q1 of next year and look at funding something related to summer camp. Unfortunately, the SOLs really restrict the time that they're able to use for field trips and anything that would get them physically closer to the port or to port activities during the school year. And so we'll pick this back up in 2023.
Okay. Thank you. New business?
We have no new business for you this morning.
Okay. Need for a closed meeting?
Chair, we do have a need for a closed meeting.
Okay. Vice Chair Rogers Gardner.
I believe it was not in the package. There's a closed meeting motion there.
I move to go into closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code subsection 2.2-3711, 8.3, for the purpose of discussing the disposition of real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, specifically regarding 3920 Burton's Point Road.
You have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. McSwain?
Yes.
Mr. Parr?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
And Ms. Allen?
Yes. We are now moving into closed meeting.
To the best of his or her knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. McSwain?
Yes.
Mr. Parr?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
And Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Motion is adopted by a vote of 6-0.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson, you have the floor.
Yes, I move to add the purchase and sale agreement of the 3920 Burton's Point property to the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion to add to our agenda a resolution for purchase and sale agreement of 3920 Burton's Point Road to our agenda. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. McSwain?
Yes.
Mr. Parr?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
And Ms. Allen?
Yes. So we will add that to our agenda. We need a motion to approve the resolution regarding 3920 Burton's Point Road purchase and sale agreement. We'll have Mr. Miller read the resolution.
Resolution 3920 Burton's Point Road Purchase and Sale Agreement. Whereas AMP United LLC, the developer, has proposed to develop office light industrial facilities, the development at 3920 Burton's Point Road, the property. And whereas PPIC intends to enter into a purchase and sale agreement with developer, the agreement, pursuant to which the developer will purchase the property for $486,220, the purchase price, and construct the development on the property. And whereas the development will benefit Portsmouth and its citizens by increasing the tax base and providing employment opportunities. Now therefore it is hereby resolved that 1, the chair and vice chair are each authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of PPIC. 2, the chair, vice chair, and secretary of PPIC and their designees are each hereby authorized to take such further actions and execute such further applications, documents, and instruments, including without limitation a deed conveying the property and related closing documents, as may be necessary or desirable in furtherance of the conveyance and development of the property in accordance with the agreement, as the same may be amended from time to time. Provided, however, that any subsequent amendment to the agreement materially affecting the purchase price shall be subject to the prior authorization of the Board of Commissioners. 3, this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its adopted this 27th day of September 2022.
Thank you. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I do want to also mention for those watching at home that this is the assessed value of this property. Hearing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Ms. McSwain?
Yes.
Mr. Parr?
Yes.
Ms. Rogers Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
And Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Motion is adopted by a vote of 6-0.
Thank you. Items submitted by commissioners. Mr. Parr.
I've just emailed Mr. Donahue a letter of support for a grant that Engineer Wright is seeking to improve Victory Boulevard into Burton's Point Road. So if we could draft something up and approve it in October, I think this would fall into the same sort of category of us wanting to really focus on this area where we have property and help assist us in selling 3930 eventually. And then I had another thing as well.
Okay, for the first thing, now, did you send that to everybody?
I sent it to you two and Mr. Donahue.
Okay, I'd like to make sure everybody gets a copy so that everybody.
Well, I didn't write it. It's an
No,
example of 2 other letters
Understood.
that the organizations have done. And then the second thing, do we have planned for next year a retreat with EDA like we did this year?
We can definitely have a conversation about
I know
having
it's
one.
early, but I thought that our conversation last year was really fruitful. So
Okay.
if before the end of the year, we could go ahead and set a date.
I will reach out to Chairman Smith.
Yeah. I thought it was very productive.
I concur. Any other items submitted? Report backs.
Madam Chair, I have really just one item for you. It's really just an update, a new item. And that is that the Virginia Institute for Economic Development is providing a training for economic development practitioners to include board and commissioner members in the month of October. The date is October 19th. That's being held in Richmond and Glen Allen. This is something that had been offered prior to COVID, and they are back to providing that in person. We have the ability to send commissioners who are interested to that. You do have a line in your budget for training, and certainly something for new members that we would recommend participating in that. We have sent EDA and PBIC members to that in the past. I do have additional information which I'll send out to the group for you to take a look at and consider. Again, the date for that is Wednesday, October 19th. It's a 2-day program. It runs through Thursday, and we can certainly provide additional information, but it is something I think that you may find beneficial as it provides the fundamentals on economic development, provides some historical context in economic development programs throughout the state at the local, regional, and state level, and assists in helping to build strategies in your community. So
Okay.
I will email you out all details on that, and please just let me know if you have an interest in attending.
Thank you.
Are there a limited amount of seats for participants?
I don't have an answer for that question. I'm sure there is a capacity limitation. They did not provide that. I'd have to look into that, but I'm sure they could accommodate if we get in early. But they probably have enough room for everyone.
Any other questions, discussions? We have gone through our agenda and a move for adjournment.
So moved.
Okay. We don't have to vote on that since we went over the agenda. Thank you so much for coming this morning, and everybody enjoy your day. Our meeting is adjourned.